Why this album? Why in this form? And why now? An explanation, not an apology or excuse. A true story from an area somewhere in Germany in the early 1980s. This story is about three metalheads who have known each other since school, and sometime in 1981, they decided to make music themselves. Let's just name the three protagonists, AWE, CGB, and HPS. Even though none of the three had the slightest idea about making music, they did it anyways. Instruments and amplifiers were purchased, and off we went. The first exhibits that could be called songs were created relatively quickly. This was due to the lack of virtuosity of everyone involved. These days, I would classify these exhibits as punkcore. We steadily developed until the first metal songs were created. The name Abbey came into being at the same time. In 1983, CGB had to do his military service for the fatherland. AWE and HPS continued to look for a drummer and a lead guitarist. In mid-1984, the first epic songs were created. The first gigs were played, and with this came the resurrection of Abbey with CGB. With a new drummer and bass player, things really started going. Then came the break due to professional, personal, and location changes. This left the protagonists with different paths, but as described in the song, "Only the Good Die Young," we remained friends and met occasionally. CGB kept the project alive and worked tirelessly on the songs and riffs. When we met, the songs were further developed. It was clear to us that at some point, circumstances would make it possible to continue with Abbey. At this point, it is worth mentioning that all riffs and song structures originated from the period 1984 to 1985. In 1988, AWE and HPS met again while playing in the band Laudatio, which later became Pounding Demise. They played together in Pounding Demise until 1992. After the end of Pounding Demise, HPS retired from music. AWE continued to play in various bands and projects. In the early 2000s, AWE and CGB recorded the basic tracks for the current album Abbey of the Ancient Ones. The basic tracks were just drums, bass, and two guitars. This was in preparation for Abbey's resurrection. The resurrection of Abbey was first delayed due to ADA's recording of the first Disorder demo, which CGB played on. Then, CGB came down with a serious illness, which further delayed the resurrection of Abbey. The Abbey project was postponed as we waited for the recovery of our friend CGB. In the summer of 2004, we received the unbelievable news of CGB's sudden and unexpected death. During this event, AWE and HPS decided to finish the album as a tribute to our old friend. The problem was that CGB had all of the multi-track recordings. Out of respect, none of us wanted to go to his parents about this matter. This wasn't in our nature, so we had to wait to someday get the right opportunity. Unfortunately, we didn't succeed with this, because his parents died relatively shortly after him. AWE was fully occupied with his Disorder project, and HPS was busy with his professional career and family matters. So the years went by. In 2019, AWE once again made contact with HPS, and they decided to reminisce about the old times. For whatever reason, it was not until 2023 that the two decided to finally put their ideas into action, meaning the recording of the missing vocal tracks, lead guitars, and keyboards. The only thing we had to work with were single stereo tracks of each song. Since we just wanted to preserve the memory of our friend and preserve it for all time, it was clear to us that we would work with the original basic tracks that our friend CGB played on. Therefore, professional re-recording in the studio was out of the question. So now you know why this album was created. You now know why it has this production quality. And why is it only now, 40 years after its creation, and 20 years after the death of our friend Klaus Günther Brettschneider, being released? Skål, my brother.